Nausicaa, everyone. I am Iona, and I am the founder of Native Trails and Tales, and I'm here today at what is commonly known as Spruce Pond. It's a pond area on Onondaga territory in what is now called Tully, New York. You can hear a couple of doggies over there splashing around in the pond, having a good time. So I'm here today to share with you a video on what I pack when I hike. But before we get started, I want to direct everyone to make sure you go check out my website and my blog, that you like, share, follow my Instagram posts, and also that when you're on my website, make sure to check out the resource guide I have listed on things that I pack in a hike. So that's good to go and use to accompany this video. And also I like to use it as sort of a checklist before I leave for a hike to make sure I have everything. Also, make sure that if you haven't already, you have your post notifications on and you've subscribed to my YouTube channel. And so without further ado, I'm going to get moving on to what I pack on a hike. This is pretty much what I just have in my pack all the time. Hi, you're beautiful. So most first aid kits come in a pretty hard shell case, and it's nice because they're durable, they're waterproof. They're also really heavy and take up a lot of space. So things to kind of consider for yourself. For me, I decided to go ahead and get, this is a water resistant, just zipper pouch, you know, nothing fancy or whatever. And I put my contents of my first aid kit in there. So a lot of the stuff that I have in my first aid kit, I have wrapped in plastic too, so that way it's just a little more waterproof. I learned that the hard way one time with my water tablets. They disintegrated. My bad. So, Mylar blankets. I'm probably the only person who carries 3 of them at a time. But this is so if I ever need to make an emergency shelter. I got one for an emergency shelter to kind of go over, right? One to be basically my floor, and one to wrap around me. I think it's actually quite a good idea. They don't take up that much space. You can share them with your friends if you're hiking together and you need some extra warmth. Related to that, I usually carry some kind of body warmers with me. This is the only one I have in here now. Yes, in the summer, maybe I'd take them out just again for a little more space because you're pretty much not going to need them. But it depends. It depends on where you're hiking, right? In summertime, even at high altitudes, you could be experiencing snow at the top of a mountain and or just cooler climates. So in this pack here, I have some safety pins. They can be useful to kind of go with an ace bandage that I also have packed, maybe if something rips. And then I also have some alcohol pads and iodine pads, just for in case there's, you know, wound care or something, cuts and abrasions. I also have a couple of Q-tips to help clean the wound, and again, I've never used those. Band-aids I've used, definitely. And I don't use them that much. People who know me know I'm like, whatever, I'm sorry. But if needed, the large ones for larger wounds obviously are really good. The way I've used Band-aids is, one time my hiking boots were, they were really old, and I knew they were getting old, but they finally ripped, and there was a section of the toe that kept catching on stuff, and I thought I was going to trip, so I put a bunch of Band-aids around it to kind of keep it taped together. You could pack tape, more like medical tape, which is probably better because it can also work for wound care and things like that. But yeah, I have a couple different types. It's like that butterfly style. Just a few different types. Good for blisters as well if you get them. Although I'll talk another time a little bit about how I try to manage and not get blisters. So I mentioned that I have an ace bandage, or whatever brand it is. But I also keep in here a lighter, so I can use that if I need to make a fire. And then I also have a set of batteries, and I try to make sure that they're still good, you know, they got a charge to them or whatever before I head out. And what I use those for, what I have those extra batteries for, is so before I go, I do try to make sure that all of the functions of it work and work pretty well before I leave. I might check the batteries too, but for the most part, I try to make sure it works, and then I have a set of batteries that aren't old. in there. Having light is definitely very useful. So I also have this thing, it's a bracelet. It's a paracord bracelet, so you can use the paracord, of course, for different purposes. Rock climbing, you can use it with your Mylar blanket for an emergency shelter. I don't always like wearing this, it's kind of uncomfy, but I will if I'm on a pretty long hike. Otherwise, I might just attach it to something on my backpack and let it hang off. Because this is nice, it has a compass. So that's good to have for a number of reasons. And I do use the compass on my phone for navigating, but I like to have one of these on hand. I also like this because it has yet another flashlight on it, or light, I should say. So when you press and hold the button on this particular bracelet, it can send out a distress signal and an SOS when you press it again, and then you can turn it off. It also has a little whistle up at the top, which is nice because I used to have a backpack where the strap that goes around your chest had a whistle right there, and those are good for alerting in emergency situations. Definitely recommend something that allows you to create some noise if you are in a situation, especially if you're hiking alone. If you open it up and you pull this out, it's kind of hard for me sometimes. And on the other part of it, pull it out, and you have a way to make fire using flint. If you don't have a lighter, if your lighter gets wet, it's not workable, the wind's too strong, whatever that might be, maybe you prefer this style. It's a utility knife. It can come in handy in a lot of ways. And I have a nail file, a knife. This is the nail file. I actually carry a separate nail file, and I do because I oftentimes am snagging my nails on rocks or whatever while I'm hiking, and that gets really annoying when it starts catching on my hair or cutting myself with it by accident, and it can be quite painful. So there's a couple more. There's a bottle opener, a serrated knife, and a few more things. So this can be handy. You might want one that you might want an actual blade if you're able to, or more of a pocket knife, but this has served me well. Again, if I'm on a longer hike, I might carry my blade with me as well. So, I also carry a phone charger. This is a big one. I don't actually always carry this, but because I'm out here today recording, I did want to carry this one. This one's nice because it's heavy, but it has solar panels, and so pretty much you don't have to worry about your battery pack charging your other materials, right? That one dying. It'll stay as long as there's some sun. So this is also good for really long trips. If you're using a lot of power, say using GPS, taking pictures, using your compass, all that stuff on your phone. Really good for camping too in particular. And then it has, don't want to face it right at the camera, another light. Oh, so much light. So I'm pretty much able to hike in the dark with all this stuff. I'm going to talk about water filtration. Having a filtration system if you're on a long hike, a really hot or dry hike, super important. This, for instance, is a water bottle, but it folds up, and there's a little air in there. You can get the air out so it takes up hardly any space. It's very lightweight. And then you can just take off the cap here and fill it with water. Now, the straw that you suck the water out of actually has carbon filters in it, and then you can change them out periodically when they start not filtering water. But I use that sometimes, but usually when I need to filter water, I like the iodine tablets. I know actually a lot of people don't. They prefer these things, the kind of Life Straw brand that folks use a lot. I like these tablets. They're cheap. There's a lot of them in there. You can filter so much water with this. 2 tablets for 1 liter. So I actually will put them in my hydration bladder. I'm going to pull that out in a minute. I'll put them in my hydration bladder and then take my bladder and put it in a stream and let it fill up. Now I know for folks the reason they don't often like it is because it does make your water taste a little like iodine, just that kind of metallic taste, got a little aftertaste, and I notice it. But another thing that I pack pretty much all the time, because again, doesn't take up much space, are electrolyte tabs or electrolyte powder, whichever works. So I'll do this. I'll put that in if I've used the iodine tablets, because it takes that, it covers up that taste. But I also like to pack these because, again, if you're on a long hike, if you're sweating a lot, that kind of thing, you're probably losing a lot of electrolytes, and it's really good to just make sure you're replenishing. And these don't take up much space. But you could do powders, you could do tabs, you could do, there's like gummy chews, you could do just a bottle of Gatorade or a sports drink or Pedialyte or something like that too, if you prefer kind of just having a bottle. Of course, I just prefer those. I also bring a few of my medicines that I might need, over-the-counter kinds of things, and a few prescriptions for some of my illnesses. I do recommend that if you're able to take something like Tylenol, ibuprofen, something like that, or whatever sort of suitable to your body, if you get aches and pains, to bring those with you. Because when you're hiking, you can get some aches and pains. And I'm not saying folks should just, oh, okay, I'm in a lot of pain, so whatever. Just shove a bunch of ibuprofen down my throat and move on. But, if you're somebody who lives with a lot of pain and that's just your everyday reality, then there's nothing wrong with necessarily, going ahead and just bringing that along with you so you have it if you need it. And then, of course, also, if you're on a hike and you're starting to get some pain and you still have some distance to go to at least get back to the trailhead, you have it there to take care of you. So here's my water bladder hooked in my backpack. So I like having a water bladder style backpack. Most hiking backpacks that are more than just, short distances, designed for short distances. I bring this for almost every hike because it just makes it easier to get my water, and I'm more likely to keep drinking it and staying hydrated. Because with a water bottle, I oftentimes find, right, if it's sort of in one of these side pockets, I gotta reach around constantly and grab for it, and it just starts hurting my back or my shoulder. This just makes it easier for me. It's also super lightweight, and again, you can really open up the top, put it in a nice running stream. I'm gonna tell you, that fills up fast. So moving on, I got a pair of binoculars. It's kind of nice little tiny pair. But I usually have either a cooling towel or I have some kind of fleece. One of the others is sort of a way to keep myself extra warm in colder temperatures, but in the summertime or in warmer temperatures, I bring a cooling towel. You can get these at sporting goods stores, I think even Walmart, online, different places. Come in all kinds of different colors. Some are bigger, some are smaller. What you do, if you're not familiar with it, dunk it in water, and then you whip it and shake it out, and let me tell you, it's like an air conditioner for your face. I also have a couple of bandanas. Just good to have something like this on hand. You can make it into an emergency basket for gathering things, gathering berries, by tying the four corners up together, and you've got a little emergency basket. Comes in handy. But I also definitely keep one attached to my pack. This is usually a little bit higher. My little hair tie that I use to attach it to my pack came down. But that way, this is on the front, and when I'm walking, if I need to blow my nose, I can. I get pretty sniffly on a lot of hikes, especially if they're windy like today, and definitely if they're cold. And I prefer to not pack in and pack out tissue just for a variety of reasons, mostly so I don't have extra stuff to carry. I don't have to worry about running out. And speaking of which, I have a cooler cloth. And if you're going to use toilet paper or something like that, make sure that if you either pack it out or that you're allowed wherever you are to bury it. But keep in mind, when you do bury it, that doesn't mean that animals can't just dig it back up again and scatter it around. So things to keep in mind. And it's some of those reasons that I use a cooler cloth. So I mentioned earlier a carabiner, right? That can be useful for a variety of things. If you wear glasses, you might notice when you're hiking, especially, again, if it's hot, if you're sweating, that they start to fog up. So I make sure that I have something to wipe them with. I like a small and spray type sunscreen just so that I remember to put it on, and it doesn't take up much weight. If I'm on a short hike, I'll probably bring one of my bigger bottles of sunscreen, because these ones can be, they're not as environmentally friendly in the smaller bottles, plus they cost a little more, but they are really handy on long hikes where I got a lot of stuff in there and I need every little inch counts or whatever. Same with my bug spray. I keep a small bottle of it, and so I usually just refill it with like from a larger bottle. When I put this on, I try to make sure it's around wherever my clothing kind of hits the skin, right? So like where my pants hit, where my collar, top of my shirt is, etc. Definitely around my ankles. If you're someone who wears a bra, you might want to make sure it's around like the straps and the under part of your bra. And use whatever kind works for you. And then I have hand sanitizer. The reason I have a spray one is because, well, first of all, it's alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and then some tea tree oil in there. I made it. And then again, I can just refill the same bottle. And it's really nice to have it like this because it's really easy, quick and easy. When I'm done going to the bathroom, I can quickly spray my Cool-a-Cloth with it, actually. And there's other things I can sanitize with it. Also, I try to keep my scented things, right, to pretty much a minimum. This is scented. It's actually an essential oil, basically peppermint and a few other different types of things like that. That's kind of similar to maybe if you're familiar with like Icy Hot or Biofreeze or one of those kinds of things. This is good for me because I do have a lot of pain. I can use this and it gives me some nice instant relief. And the oils that are in here also just kind of are invigorating and energizing, and they tend to repel bugs too. So you get, it's a nice multifaceted factor. A chapstick, definitely use that a lot. I don't always have a map, but when I'm in the high peaks of the Adirondack Mountains, I love looking out at all the peaks and trying to just orient myself and make sure I know where I am. And I like to use it, you know, with my compass. Yes. Is it good to have maps and compass skills? Is it good to make sure you have a map when you're hiking? Absolutely. But it's not entirely necessary for a lot of hikes that are not in, you know, really deep backcountry. You have a GPS on your phone. Even if you start to lose cell service, you can still use your GPS. Snacks. So I didn't talk about, as you've probably noticed, food and snacks, because that's a whole, again, other video. Okay, so I hope some of this was helpful. I'm sure for some folks, some of this is information you're well familiar with. For others, maybe this is new information. I hope for everyone you got something out of it. I'm curious, what did you get out of it? Was there anything in here in my backpack that was surprising to you? Comment below other things that you'd like to see from me. Like, comment, share if this was helpful. Subscribe so you get, and turn on your post notifications so you get notified when I upload videos. And make sure to go to my Instagram and my website to check me out. And also there's links in my bio for being able to donate and support Native Trails and Tales.
Kinana sa kumbitin, hi hi!